This message is for you. God says, listen carefully, do not try to skip this. Do not scroll past it as if it is nothing. Don't tell this to anyone yet, because it is only for you. God says the hour is nearer than you think. God is begging you to open your heart and pay attention right now. This message will not return for a second chance in the exact same way. Don't try to skip this. Don't tell this to anyone. I am speaking to you now. God says, be careful. Be watchful. The third week of September 2025 is a turning point. Be careful. They're coming to your house. Third week of September 2025, they'll take the kear immediately. Hear me, this is not meant to frighten you without purpose. It is meant to wake you up, to move you, to shelter you. God says you already feel the tremor under your feet, a subtle dragging at the corners of your peace, and it is not your imagination. This is a call to prepare your heart as much as your home. This is for you. God says, begin to fasten the doors of your mind with prayer and the locks of your house with practical care. God says, there are things that human hands must do and things that only faith can hold. You must do both. If you doubt where to start, start with faith. Say aloud, God, I will not be taken unawares. Say it until it becomes more than words. Do simple things. Check your doors, check your papers, check your people. But more importantly, check your heart. Guard your spirit as you would guard a child. Guard your thoughts. Guard the words you answer with. God says that safety begins within. God says, there are those who whisper and those who act. Tonight, listen for the whisper that tells you to move something small, a document, a key, a file, to a safer place. God says, do not shrug off intuition as paranoia. Intuition is a messenger. When it knocks, open a little. Take the small steps now. Put the important papers in a sealed envelope. Photograph what matters. Back up what can be backed up. Tell no one unnecessary details. Pray. Be alert. Do not be lax because the world will not wait for you to notice. God says, I know you are tired. I know that you have walked long roads, that your money has been thin, that your joys have been bittersweet. I know the nights you spent crying and the mornings you forced yourself to rise. God says, your tears have not been wasted. They are recorded. They are precious. But now is a season when courage is required beyond endurance. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting in spite of it. God says, act. Act with care. Act with prayer. Act with humility and with firmness. Let your steps be both cautious and fearless. God says, watch your family. Protect those who look to you. It may be someone you love will be confused, angry, or stubborn when you ask them to do the simple things that keep them safe. They may roll their eyes, accuse you of fear, or call you dramatic. Do it anyway. God says, speak plainly with the ones you love. Tell them what to do if you cannot be there. Tell them who to call. Leave a note in a place they will find. If you have children, an elderly parent, or a neighbor who depends on you, write down the instructions in clear, short sentences. God says, prepare them spiritually as well. Pray together. Say a name, and call the name to God. God says, there will be words like thunder and moves like a storm, but you must not let the noise drown your inner compass. There is a difference between being informed and being consumed by fear. God says, consume your fear with action. When anxiety rises in your chest, breathe deeply, slowly, as if you are carrying the breath of heaven. Speak, not my will, but God's will. Ask for protection. Ask for clarity. Ask for a visible sign if you need one. God says, signs will come, sometimes through people you least expect, sometimes through silence that suddenly becomes instruction. God says, do not be alarmed at the name of an enemy you do not yet know. Sometimes they are not one person but a circumstance, a legal trap, an unexpected bill, a betrayal, or an old mistake resurfacing. God says, examine the loose ends in your life. What have you postponed until later? What bills, papers, or permissions have you delayed? What conversations have you avoided because you feared the answer? Deal with them now. It is time to tidy your affairs, legal, financial, practical. If there is a document that matters, make a copy. If there is a name you must recall, write it down. If there is a meeting you can attend, go. Do not give your future to negligence. God says, there will be people who pretend concern but carry knives in their pockets. There will be the kind who smile as they collect your trust like coins. God says, do not hand your keys to anyone whose heart you have not watched over time. Do not sign on dotted lines that you do not read. The devil loves signatures signed while your eyes were elsewhere. Read carefully. Ask questions. Speak only when you understand. God says, be shrewd as a serpent and harmless as a dove. The world requires both. God says, if they come to your house, do not meet them with hostility that makes things worse. There are times when retreat is strength. If confrontation promises more harm than control, choose safety. God says, your life and the lives of those in your care are more valuable than any pride. You can lose many things and still win what matters: your soul, your family, your future. When confronted, preserve the life of the moment. Breathe. Pray. Make the wise call. Choose the path that secures life over the path that secures ego. God says, there will be those who accuse you of cowardice if you prepare. There will be those who call your careful plans worry or anxiety. Do not let their labels stop you. God says, when you prepare, you are not saying that God failed you, you are saying that God gave you reason and hands to act. Preparation is worship, too. It is saying thank you for the sense to build and the heart to love what you possess enough to protect it. God says, remember the small things. It is often the unglamorous precautions that change a destiny. A light left on, a neighbor's number saved in your phone, a small amount of cash tucked away, a legal receipt photocopied, these are not trivial. These are lifelines. God says, place a copy of vital documents in 2 places, one hidden and one with someone you trust outside your immediate circle. If possible, scan and upload encrypted copies to a secure cloud. If you fear digital vulnerability, keep physical copies sealed. God says, take photographs of property and valuables with dates. Inventory what you can. It will save you time and agony if you must prove what was yours. God says, this message is not a prophecy that condemns you, it is a lamp to guide you. There will be sorrow for some. There will be loss for others. There will also be rescue for many. God says, when trouble comes, it will separate the trivial from the essential. It will show you what matters. Hold, then, to what is essential: faith, truth, those who love you, and the values that formed you. If you must lose silver, do not lose your conscience. If you must lose a thing, do not lose the love that made that thing dear. God says, be careful of the language you use in the public square and on your phone. Words travel fast and are used like ropes. Do not post things that might be twisted into evidence against you. Be mindful of messages and social posts that might be misread. Consider tightening privacy settings. Consider pausing from social commentary that could draw unwanted attention. God says, nice things can be misunderstood in a court that delights in misreadings. Keep your circle small and your statements measured. God says, you will meet helpers. Not everyone who comes will be an enemy. Some will appear as angels disguised as ordinary people, a courier who sees your distress and delays a delivery to save you, a friend who offers a place to sleep, a lawyer who returns your call, a stranger who warns you of danger. God says, accept help when it is real, verify it when it seems too good to be true. Discernment is the armor of the saint in the marketplace. When help comes, pray first, then act. Ask God if this is part of the path He is allowing. If peace accompanies the opportunity, move. God says, in the coming week, keep an eye on dates and deadlines. Missing a date can create legal and financial vulnerabilities. If you have appointments, permits, or financial obligations, confirm them. If you have contention with another person, seek mediation or counsel early. God says, procrastination grows teeth. Do not let a deadline become a trap. God says, small, steady acts of diligence will outmatch large, desperate acts of fear. God says, do not fall into cycles of blame. When trouble arrives, your first instinct will be to point a finger at politics, at neighbors, at the system. It is natural. God says, exhaustion and anger speak loudly in the valley of crisis. But if you can, reserve your indignation for action rather than poison. Blame will not fix a missing document or reopen a door. Action will. Seek to solve what you can influence and surrender what you cannot. Use energy for movement, not heat. God says, there will be a need to speak with authority. Practice saying important facts calmly. When you speak to officials, speak plainly. Give phone numbers, addresses, and names clearly. Offer copies of documentation. If you approach someone in power, avoid dramatics. Calmness and clarity win more doors than loudness and accusations. God says, let your demeanor be a testimony that you are steady enough to be heard. God says, take care of your health. Stress compromises judgment and weakens the body. Eat modestly. Sleep as much as you can. Drink water. If you take medication, ensure you have a supply for at least 2 weeks. Keep a small medical kit ready. God says, a sound body helps house a sound soul. If you feel overwhelmingly anxious, reach for prayer and reach for professional help if necessary. There is no shame in asking for tools to steady you. God says, this season is also a test of who you truly love. Some friendships will reveal themselves to be shallow, others will shine. Do not be surprised when true colors appear. Those who stand with you will be obvious in the small acts, a call in the night, a visit with food, a child carried to safety. God says, Be grateful early for those who love you well. Make mental notes of who shows up. When the storm goes through, invest in those who remained. Bless them. Keep them. God says, the words, "They'll take the kear immediately," as the warning came to you, are fierce and exacting because they are meant to shock you into action. Whether the word kear refers to a car, an item, or a symbol of possession, the essence is clear. Something you rely on can be taken swiftly. God says, if it is your vehicle, ensure your registration and papers are in order, park in a secure place, keep the keys safe. If it is a metaphor, a relationship, an income, an advantage, safeguard it by being proactive. Do the small administrative tasks now. The small tasks are the scaffolding of protection. God says, do not listen to voice messages that seek to provoke. If you receive threats or blackmail, do not delete the messages without saving copies in a secure place. Document everything. God says, do not engage in revenge. Revenge will complicate and escalate. Let authorities handle threats when they become criminal. God says, if a situation seems petty, consider mediation. If it seems dangerous, call the appropriate protective services. Be firm, be wise. God says, this is not merely about possessions, it is about your soul's posture. In the fire of testing, your posture matters. Will you bow to panic, or will you stand in measured trust? God says, it is okay to be afraid, it is not okay to let fear write your. This message is for you. God says, do not let the momentum stop here. If you thought the last words were enough, hear me again, there is more to do, and there is more to receive. Do not skip this. God is not finished with the details. God says, now is the time for careful courage. God says, begin by naming 3 concrete things you will do before the week begins. Say them aloud. Writing binds intention to action. Let one be small and immediate, something like, I will photocopy my ID and leave a copy with a neighbor. Let one be procedural. I will check the registration and insurance for my vehicle and make sure the documents are together. Let one be relational. I will tell one trusted person what I'm preparing, and ask them to check in on me. God says, choose them now and act. The voice that names tasks is the voice that tames fear. God says, make a list of the people who must be told if an emergency comes. Include names, numbers, and how they are best reached. Keep this list in your wallet and also saved on a device that you can access. Place it also with the emergency bag. God says, simple systems save panic. Systems do not require perfection, they only require consistency. Build the system once and let it serve you. God says, keep your keys and papers in a single known place each night. Routine is a tiny guardian. When you make simple rules and keep them, you reduce the chances of a last-minute mistake. God says, morning habits guard the day. Night habits guard the night. Create both. God says, if you have legal concerns, do not let shame stop you. Shame feeds secrecy and secrecy grows mistakes. Bring the matter into daylight where professionals can see it and advise. If money is tight, find a community resource that offers free counsel. Often, there is a hand extended that you could not have found in your isolation. God says, take it. Accepting help does not make you weak, it makes you wise. God says, cultivate one small place in your home that is your peace corner. It should be quiet and practical, a chair, a small table, a notepad, and a lamp. Place there the items you need to make calls, to sign forms, to breathe. In a crisis, we often stumble because we cannot find the simplest implements. Let that corner be the calm center you return to again and again. God says, the outer order of things often calms the heart. God says, practice a short script to use if authorities or officials come to your door. Keep it concise and respectful. For example, I understand you are here concerning X. Could you please show identification and explain what is required of me? I need a moment to gather the documents. Practice it until it feels like a natural sentence. God says, readiness in speech stabilizes the moment. God says, there will be moments when your imagination will gift you the worst-case scenario and attach it like a cloak that you cannot remove. Beware the lies of what if that begin with no evidence. To each what if speak a counter-truth. What if I am helped? What if this ends quickly? What if a neighbor sees and acts? Build a litany of small possible mercies. God says, imagine rescue as vividly as you imagine harm. Training your mind to expect help invites creative solutions. God says, be careful with money transfers and quick decisions about assets. If someone offers an easy removal of a problem for cash, stop. Scammers love emergencies, they create pressure because it works. Pause, breathe, and verify. Call a friend or a free legal line. God says, if the deal is legitimate, taking a moment will not destroy it. If the deal is a trap, the moment will save you. God says, if you are part of a community of faith, use it. Many hands can hold more burdens than one. Ask for intercessory prayer, not as a substitute for action but as its companion. Ask your leader for practical advice, often a place, a meal, housing, or a phone line is available. Do not let pride block the help God may send through others. God says, "Be mindful of the children in your care. They will feel danger even if you do not name it. Tell them simply, 'We are making extra plans to keep everyone safe.' Give them a small task, put a teddy in the bag, or choose one outfit. Tasks make them less afraid. Speak kindly and calmly, your steadiness will settle their fear." God says, when you make decisions in the heat of danger, choose the path that keeps people alive and intact. If staying will increase risk, leave. If leaving opens a safe refuge, take it. There is wisdom in retreat and wisdom in resistance. Ask God for discernment at every turning. God says, remember to document. If there is a confrontation or a suspicious interaction, write the facts later that day while they are fresh. Record names, vehicle numbers, times, and what was said. Evidence is most valuable when it is immediate. Secure your notes and copies in at least 2 places. God says, let this season sharpen your sense of what matters after the storm. Make 2 lists, what must be protected at all costs, and what I may let go for a larger safety. The first list will include lives, relationships, and the core documents. The second list will include items you love but can live without. Knowing your priorities frees you to act without panic. God says, anger and vengeance are seductive, but they are costly. If you are devastated, channel that energy into repair and restoration. Study the law, gather witnesses, and let justice proceed through proper channels. Do not let a desire for immediate payback blind you into dangerous choices. God says, in the quiet hours, ask for a sign of peace. Signs may be small, a sudden calm, a call that comes at the right time, a delay that works in your favor. Do not demand drama, ask for clarity. When clarity comes, obey it. God says, if you need ongoing counsel, write a plan for the months after the event. How will you repair, recover, and rebuild? Who will help you with paperwork, with emotional recovery, with finances? Plot the first 3 steps you would take if the worst happens. Plans give power, even when they are simple. God says, keep returning to prayer, not as a last resort but as a first habit. Pray as you move. Pray as you file. Pray as you speak. Make prayer the rhythm of your life so that fear cannot set the tempo. God says, lastly, do not grow weary of doing good, even in a season of vigilance. Small acts of kindness will multiply into alliances that protect you. Share a cup of tea with a neighbor. Check on the elderly at your street. These small networks become shields. This message is for you. God says, I am still speaking, do not shut your ears now. Do not think you have already read enough. Every word matters because every layer is a shield over you. God says, this is not the time to wander in distraction, this is the time to anchor yourself fully. Do not skip this. If you try to scroll past it, you are throwing away the rope I am lowering down into your storm. God says, the third week of September 2025 is not only a date on the calendar, it is a battlefield in the spirit and in the physical. That week carries weight. Some things will be exposed, some things will be taken, some things will be tested. God says, I am warning you because I want you to be ahead of it. The enemy wants surprise to weaken you, but I want preparation to strengthen you. That is why you are reading this now. God says, be intentional with every movement. Do not live on autopilot these coming days. When you wake, pray. When you leave the house, look. When you speak, measure. When you plan, double-check. God says, attentiveness will be your armor. One careless signature, one overlooked paper, one ignored knock could shift the ground under you. But one act of awareness can undo what the enemy plotted. God says, there will be whispers around you, conversations you are not invited into, plans drawn in silence. Do not be naive, not every smile hides goodwill. Some smiles mask schemes. God says, I am not telling you this to make you suspicious of everyone, but to remind you that discernment is life. Trust only where you have tested character over time. If a new voice offers help too quickly, pause. Test the spirit, test the motive, and watch their fruits. God says, I see the weariness in your heart. I see how your mind says, why always me? Why these warnings? Why this pressure? God says, because you are chosen to survive what others cannot. You are chosen to carry lessons that others will need later. You are chosen because you have a future beyond this week, and the enemy wants to choke it early. God says, I will not let him succeed if you obey me. God says, protect the kear. The word may have come to you strangely, but it holds meaning. The kear is symbolic of what sustains you, your vehicle, your bread, your proof of identity, your key to moving forward. They will try to take it immediately, without giving you time to think. God says, you must secure it now. If it is a car, guard its papers, its keys, its parking. If it is property, guard the deed, the receipt, the evidence. If it is a relationship or opportunity, guard it from sabotage by being silent until the right time. God says, prepare as if tomorrow is the test. God says, pay attention to locks. Locks on doors, locks on drawers, locks on hearts. Secure what must be hidden, unlock what must be healed. If you keep bitterness locked up, it will leak at the wrong moment. If you leave your door unlocked, trouble will walk in. God says, use keys wisely, literal keys and spiritual ones. God says, I will give you dreams in these nights before the 3rd week. Do not dismiss them as random. Keep a notebook near your bed. Write what you see, faces, numbers, colors, words. Later, you will understand. God says, I often whisper through dreams because the noise of the day keeps you deaf. Pay attention, for the dream may contain the one instruction that saves you. God says, in those days, time will move quickly. Hours will vanish. Panic will try to steal your ability to plan. This is why I am asking you to make lists and routines now, so when panic comes, you are guided by preparation and not emotion. God says, emotion is not the enemy, but emotion cannot be your leader in crisis. Let faith and planning lead, let emotion follow after. God says, the people who come may not always wear uniforms. Some may come disguised as helpers, workers, officials. Ask for proof. Ask for identification. Call to verify before opening wide. God says, wisdom is not distrust, wisdom is protection. Test what enters your gates. God says, there will be a temptation to think you are alone. You will feel as though no one else hears these warnings. You will wonder, why me? Why is no one else speaking of this? God says, because the message was sent to you. This rope is lowered into your storm, not another's. You are the steward of it. If you hold it faithfully, you will survive and later help others. But if you mock it, if you skip it, if you delay it, the storm will swallow more than you can bear. God says, remember also the power of silence. Do not broadcast every fear. Do not post every move. Do not confess your entire plan to people who only half love you. Silence is armor. Speak only to God and to those He confirms are safe. Loose lips are doors the enemy can walk through. Guard your speech. God says, if you must face officials, carry yourself with dignity. Do not appear broken, do not appear arrogant. Stand steady. Answer calmly. Provide papers. Show respect, even when they show none. God says, humility in such moments is not weakness, it is strategy. It disarms hostility. It wins time. It shifts atmospheres. God says, the third week of September 2025 is a crossing point. Some will lose, some will endure, some will rise. Your obedience to this warning will determine which one you are. God says, I am begging you, do not ignore, do not delay. Take the steps tonight. Write the notes, pack the bag, copy the papers, pray the prayers. God says, if you listen, you will see the hand of rescue. If you obey, you will outlast the storm. If you prepare, what they plan to take immediately will not be theirs to claim. God says, you are still covered, still chosen, still seen. God says, it's over for you if you skip this. These are not words of cruelty, they are words of urgency. Do not scroll away thinking you will have time later. Later belongs to no one. Only now is in your hand. Act now. Obey now. Prepare now. God says, I will go with you into the third week, but I will only guard fully what you have surrendered and secured.